What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Standard. We're back here, OddsShopper, GoldBoys. Oh, one and the same here for the next half hour. I'm alongside my guy, Mr. B-Rad, BLT, Lord BLT. Brad Thomas, how you doing, my dude? Long time no see.
Dude, I'm doing good, man. Had a great day on the pitch. I decided to take the rest of the day off because, you know, with 5,000 games going on, you can only handicap so many. I
Yes.
handicapped like 15 of them and I couldn't handicap anymore. I was like, there's just too many to go. So I just kind of sat out for the second window, but we had a really nice start. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to be back. Good to be kicking it with you, talking through some bets, talking through. I mean, there's one MLB game, and it's a Milwaukee Brewers team that continues to ruin my soul. Whether I bet for or against the team, it doesn't matter. I get it wrong nearly every single time. Having a really good MLB postseason outside of them, but yeah, it's been good to get back in the swing of things here, getting back from Scotland and getting ready for some NFL tonight as well. But yeah, 15 soccer games. I think for the people at home who are just kind of wondering, what does it look like for you to handicap through it? Because, like, for me, it's a lot of copy paste in Excel. It's a lot of like researching, going on Twitter and X, trying to make sure I got all the injury stuff correct. And it's kind of a all hands on deck situation. But I'm curious how this works at 6 in the morning when you're looking at soccer overseas.
Yeah. So what I do, this actually helps me a lot, is I like to memorize every league's stats and the important stats. So I need to know the both teams to score. If I don't know the both teams to score numbers, I need to know the XG numbers, and then I need to know
Okay.
tactics. That's just something that I just keep in my memory bank. From there, then I see how two teams are playing. I go through the list. If there's glaring tactical matchups where I know it's good tactic versus good tactic or bad tactic versus bad tactic, I'll attack that game first. Then I'll go look at injuries. Then I'll go look at pricing, and then I'll do my correct score. If it's a game where I don't know anything, normally I'll probably just sit out or I'll
Hmm.
see if like there's an egregious number that just has to be played. But a lot of it's memory. I try to memorize as many teams XGs and XGAs as possible. It's a horrible stat to use as the only betting metric that you're using, but it's a very good stat to use as your starting point.
It's a good starting point purely because for the people who don't know, expected goals, you have chances that happen throughout the
Yep.
course of a soccer slash football match where things can drastically change based on how good your opportunities are, based on where you're kicking free kicks from, based on number of corners, which are kind of worth a specific thing if you get your head on the ball. It's just trying to encapsulate things that happen throughout a game because in soccer, when you're talking about 0, 1, 2, 3, it can be just mind blowing how many
Yep.
times the ball just doesn't go in the back of the net.
Yep. And what's funny is like XG is such a funny stat because XG matters more for good teams than it does bad teams. Like as
Mhm.
you get better or you go higher up in leagues, the finishing quality is better. Well, what that means is XG becomes more important because their expectation of expecting to score the goal is higher. But if you're
Yeah.
like in a really bad league and they have like a very high XG, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the output that you're expected.
Gotcha. Yeah, these are good things to keep in mind because Champions League is rocking. I believe that was Tuesday. We had that
Yeah.
onslaught of noon games Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm going to be paying attention to that, keeping some of that in mind. I think you should be too out there watching this show, whether it's in real time here now with us or over, as this exists going into the weekend. But we've got some stuff to cover here for tonight. For the weekend, I know that there's a college football play on my guy Brad's sheet that we're going to be talking through a little bit. I think there was at least one that I saw from the college football streets, and I've got some
I
MLB
think
also
3.
that we'll be discussing throughout this program. So smash the like button. Let's start with you, Brad. Here, as we're maybe waiting for Eytan question mark. I don't know if he's going to be jumping in here or not, but you never know with that one. He's a man wandering the universe at the beat of his own drum. But your first play on the board for today is
Yeah, so I'm gonna be transparent. I bet this at 13.5. Obviously, when you bet something in college football, if you get a good number, it's not gonna last long. It's already at 14.5, but most of the shops have it around 105. I did see some 14s rolling around at minus 115. It's totally cool. You could play minus 14. That's Clemson, minus 14 against Florida State. First and foremost, DJU is out, Brock Glenn starting. normally I wouldn't say that mattered much, but it's just the continuity on the offense that they needed for a team that wasn't performing well already. Florida State, they are 109th in offensive success rate. And to make it worse, they're 107th in EPA per rush, 113 in EPA per dropback against a Clemson team who more and more it looks like that Clemson Georgia game that Clemson came out being a really freaking good team. I think there's an opportunity for Clemson to just pounce on Florida State. You know, if you're going to have a bad offense, you really want to hang your hat defensively. Not even good defensively. 95th defensive success rate. Their EPA margin on defense 111th in the country. It's a bad Florida State team. Clemson absolutely obliterates them. And what's funny is, you know, Dabo wants to beat up on these guys, so there's going to be no taking your foot off the gas in this game.
It's so wild to see. I mean, just how ridiculously bad Florida State is. I mean, DJ being out is probably a good thing for them at this point in time. I mean,
It
it's
would
been
be. It would be if this part doesn't make sense. If Florida State's
okay.
offensive line was good, Florida State returned the most offensive line talent in college football, and somehow their offensive line's still bad. And that just makes me think it's just a locker room thing. Like they're not connecting. The coach is having a trouble time with his team. So
It's unreal. He definitely looks like part of the Godfather 4, like the
yeah,
head coach for Florida State. I don't remember his name, but obviously I watch a lot of the college sports. I tail my guy Brad over here. Do not handicap a single game the entire season long. You will not see one posted from me on X. You will not see one, period. Last year, I tried to bet against Washington routinely, so I am not going to be claiming the college football streets in any way, shape, or form, because trust me, that did not go well. What has gone well for me is Thursday night football. I'm coming off of yes, you heard me, 4 consecutive Thursday night sweeps in the like
hell
lock
yeah.
category. It's the one day a week that I apparently can handicap football. And we're going to be going to the dog today, the Tampa Bay money line. I don't see any way around it. Plus 116 was the number I got on FanDuel. It's now inside a plus 112. I saw plus 110 a second ago there, but this is a Tampa Bay team that I'm pretty invested in to win the division. This is obviously the team that they need to beat. I thought it was pretty egregious, and it looks good in hindsight saying, oh, the Falcons, they were overrated because if they don't have a Kirk Cousins primetime drive against the Philadelphia Eagles, which I know you have the Eagles over win total that I tailed a little bit on, but I very much look at that game being the deciding factor of them being a 1-3 football team and us talking about Atlanta and the doldrums. Tampa Bay offensively, bring in the heat. You defensively have a number of pieces that I just continue to be impressed by the progression here. I don't know what else to say. I think Tampa Bay has been the most underrated team in football from a divisional conference. Like it was plus 340, plus 320 preseason for them to win the division. That's absurd. And I know New Orleans has had their moments this season. And Atlanta, they have all the talent and all the land, adding Simmons, adding some other characters out there on the defensive end. But I'm going to take the dog here in a dome. Plus 1.5 kind of indicated to me where it's like, well, there's going to be an 8-cent difference last night. I'm just going to take it. So wrap that one up with Eytan. Tampa Bay money line. I like it.
I like that. Obviously, Bucks fan here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they look good offensively. Liam Cohen comes in, and Liam Cohen, comes in, makes this team revitalize. Run game's really nice with, the double-headed monster now, we could say, Bucky Irving.
Okay, Bucky Irving's a little bit better. I know I'm biased being an Oregon guy, but I love what we've seen from Bucky. And hey, Rachaad White, maybe light a fire under his ass. I know it was against Philly, but 10 for 49 for both of them on the ground last time out. That's encouraging as a Tampa fan, getting anything going on the ground.
Very encouraging. I actually think that he'll start. So he had 45% snap share last week. I think it's going to get closer to 52% snap share because Rachaad White, his numbers, his advanced metric numbers for the past 2 years just haven't been good, right? Like, of course, a running back stats are going to look good if they're running the ball a ton, right? Like if they're touching the ball a ton, it's going to look good. But you want to look at the efficiency, right? How successful are you? That's what success rate measures. How successful are you every time you run the ball? Not how well you did at the end of the game. You had 35 touches and you had 115 total yards. That's a big difference than having 20 touches and having 113 yards. And it's kind of catching up with Rachaad White, but Bucky Irving's the man. And people, his draft grade really was like his size, and he plays big. I'm really, really excited for him. I was there when he scored the touchdown. It was cool because we all yelled, Bucky, and then they called the touchdown back, and I was like, crap. Then they let him run it in the very next play, and I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was nice to see his first career touchdown. That was a fun one. Big Oregon family that I married into, and went to the UCLA Oregon game on Saturday. Getting back on the plane from Friday, I am an absolute mess of a human being. Tailgated for like 8 hours. It was an 8 p.m. start time, our time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. It ended up being a long, long day, but I was happy to go watch that one. Not sure about Dylan Gabriel still. I mean, he does some boneheaded stuff. 28-3, you're putting the foot down on the gas, and that pick six at the end of the half was a little bit tilting. But overall, still an undefeated Oregon team. All you can do is win the games that are in front of you. And if they keep doing that in the Big Ten, well, they're going to be just fine. Life looks pretty good here. But anything else that we wanted to discuss about the Thursday night football game? Because I didn't see anything else on your sheet for that. Did you?
No, I didn't have anything else. I know me and Eytan did a video together where I gave out Tyler Algier 40 plus rushing yards plus 110.
He's been incredible.
He has. Buccaneers run defense not good. 42.3 PFF grade. It's not really them. They're more of a bend don't break run defense, but now it's been more like break don't bend. So basically what happens is they have like a lot of really good run fits that's like with stops, and then they have one really big run, and you're like, how did you let that happen? And that's kind of been their issue. My next play is actually in college football still. I'm going with Nate Noel, running back, Missouri. This is Missouri, Texas A&M. I'm going with him over 71.5 rushing yards. You probably might say, Brad, listen, what are you doing? Good run defense from Texas A&M. But I actually think it's more of a game script, and it's a game script where Missouri will never be in a super negative game script against Texas A&M. Their offense is not built to blow teams out. It's more of manage the game and make sure that you don't get blown out or you keep it close so our defense can keep you in it. Nate Noel's run the ball 20 plus times. Right now he's averaging 6.4 carries per game. It's for me, it's a numbers play. If you saw what happened when they played against Notre Dame and Jeremiah Love ran for 91 yards, that's because it was an opportunities thing, like we talked about, running the ball. Jaquindon Jackson was held to 37 yards, right? But in that game against Arkansas threw the ball 41 times, even with a positive game script. That won't happen with Missouri. Eli Drinkwitz is pretty good at managing a game. He doesn't let the game dictate his schedule. He dictates the game, which is really nice. So Nate Noel over 71.5 rush yards.
Yeah, I love that. I also think one of my favorite things to do, or back when I was handicapping college football, is I just slash off the first game of the season. I don't even put it into anything that I do because it's such a unbelievably tilting thing when you start valuing in the entire body of work. And a team like Bama was playing South Alabama for their first game of the season. And then a team like Texas A&M hosts Notre Dame right out of the gate. Now, Notre Dame, they've had their inefficiencies this season overall too, but there's no question that you get that hyped up first game of the season, college game day, knew everybody, trying to find cohesion. I try not to value the first game of the season too much, especially if it's two really good teams. How many times have we seen over the years, back when Bo Nix was with Auburn? I mean, just some weird games early on in the season. And yeah, it becomes difficult for me to look at that as what a team is going to be because they're just figuring out their identity in the moment, that first game, and then you can kind of run with it. So I think that that's a good way of looking at it here with this Texas A&M team that I believe they're first in their division of the SEC, correct?
No divisions, but
no divisions anymore. All right, so then
no
they're
divisions
just
anymore.
up
but
there.
It's a good Texas A&M team defensively. Marcel Reed or Connor Wegman will be quarterback. They're just not good offensively. They have a good running game too. I don't think this game's going to be a blowout on either side, but I do think both teams are going to want to run the ball.
Gotcha. Missouri 4-0, that in their SEC too. So it's going to be a very fun football game to be paying attention to. Also, it'd be fun for you guys to pay attention to B-Rad here in 2 seconds. Our guy's straight behind the turntables, doing a great job producing us today, as he always does. Why don't you just hit the little GoldBoys button for the people? B-Rad, let's see some blue hair, shall we?
The GoldBoys are one of the largest, well-known sports betting communities.
firing in segues.
So go ahead and press the thumbs up button and like the video. If you're new here and not subscribed, you should go ahead and do so because we're dropping new content each and every day on the GoldBoys Network. We strive to cover every sport and give out picks and analysis and valuable information for free on the GoldBoys Network. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you can get notified when we drop something new. I'm Brad Thomas. Let's get back to the picks.
Personally, I think Brad needs to take that hair back. I think we need to embrace the blue. We need to smurf it up a little bit. I'm ready for it. I know that it's expensive. I get it. But Brad, the blue looks good on you, son. I like it. I like it a little bit. I like it a lot of it.
Every time I see that video, I'm like, wow, that blue was really nice. It came out really, really nice.
It's pretty pure. I like it. Let's go to something else that I like. Maybe not as much, but Francisco Lindor. We're getting Tobias Harris and then a bullpen that got utilized a little bit yesterday. And I will say this once again. I can't figure out how to bet for or against Milwaukee. I bet for them. They completely let me down. I bet against them. They find ways to put up 3 runs in an 8th inning and, lose that ticket is the right way of saying it. But I am going to be going to Francisco Lindor for props specifically today. The guy he put up MVP caliber stuff this season. 539 expected slugging, 382 xWOBA. And Tobias Harris is a guy that is a fly ball tendency, dude. I'm going to be rerunning some stuff. I think the home run might end up on my card. It probably won't be like a half unit. It might be just like a quarter unit type home run play, kind of the standard for, trying to get an ensemble of them. Later into the MLB postseason, when something is positive EV with it, sometimes I'll take, half a unit and go up a little bit more for some of these hitter props. But 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. We're getting a little bit of value here coming off of yesterday. 2 walks. We had an intentional walk where he had guys on second and third, and they just basically said, 4, put them on. And it's tilting when that stuff happens. There's not a lot you can do about it. But on the flip side is that you're generally going to get 5-10 cents of value the next day because people shy away from it. Or you see just, if he had smashed, people would come in immediately over to a 1.5 and not really pay attention to what the VIG was and just bet it no matter what. There are a lot of ways that these numbers get manipulated in the postseason differently than during the regular season where, people like to bet overs. People get that. It's not some foreign concept, not just in baseball, but in everything. But I think buying low, that's going to be kind of the theme for a lot of things that I'm talking about. I'm looking at Brandon Ayuk, trying to jump on some props for him this week in the NFL. It all works together where you want to buy low on specific people who you think are ready to knock the top off of it. And I think Francisco Lindor in a game 3 must-win situation with every main bullpen arm utilized in Milwaukee's game 2, since it was a must-win for them. I think Lindor looks awesome at the top of this lineup today. I was looking across at a number of pick'em sites. This is more pick'em related for me, where I think 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. When you're talking about something that's minus 140, minus 145 at books, and you're able to utilize that as just a common square on Prize Picks or something, it ends up being part of the portfolio. So I've wrapped this around with a number of different WNBA props that friends have put in over at Tails for a number of different plays for the games that are on Friday there, as well as some college football numbers that from a market-based approach looked low. Have Ray McLeod over 33.5 receiving yards. That's 35.5 over at Prize Picks now. So lots of ways that you can formulate this play, combine it with other things at a pick'em site, or play this straight out. Minus 130, I believe, was still available here as of recording. So Francisco Lindor, I think he has a big game here. Whether they win or not, I'm not going to find out because I will not be wagering on that result because I suck at it. So there's that.
You could throw a Jordan McLeod interception on that.
Jordan McLeod interception.
Listen, I think they're going to try to throw the ball a ton on Troy. Troy's not like this fantastic team, but the dude is really careless with the ball.
Okay. I'm going to add that. See, that's the beautiful part about Pick'em. Like, I love having multiple sports to sweat throughout an entire evening and day and multiple day sweats. Like, I don't think people realize how amazing that is because it's so hard to do at traditional sports books to combine all of these things, including e-gaming. All of a sudden, I'm watching that because of the free square or the discounted square from yesterday on Prize Picks, where I'm like, what's going to end up happening here? So it ends up being a fun sweat. If you guys want to join that sweat, I really do think Lindor primed to smash one of these 3 games because so far Pretty darn quiet to start off the series. Anyway, we've got a third pick on the way. Smash the like button if you are following along home, over at home. We've got what, like 5 minutes left? Yeah, there we go. 5 minutes left. Be rad. My guy, Mr. Brad Thomas over on X. Go give him a follow as he gives you his third pick of the day.
Yeah. Third pick. It's going to be an unpopular pick, guys. Don't be mad at me. I'm not betting with the public on this one. It's okay. Rutgers versus Nebraska. I'm taking Rutgers with the points plus 7.5. I think the line's down to 7. I think that we'll see a lot of Nebraska by late, which is fine, right? Don't be afraid. Nebraska, people want Nebraska to be back. For me,
I don't. I don't. My whole high school went there. I hate Nebraska.
Snap.
Oh
For
my
me,
God, I hate them. Sorry
not
that Mahomes' brother couldn't get it done for you last week. You fuskers. Anyway,
Mini
continue.
Mahomes, the fighting Patrick Mahomes. No, Nebraska's a good team, right? Defensive battle. We have big wind gusts in this game. I don't think either quarterback is going to be asked to do much. It's going to be a battle of the ground game. Which ground game do you trust more? Do you trust the two-headed, three-headed monster, basically led by Dowdle of Nebraska, or do you trust Kyle Monagai in Rutgers? Greg Schiano has this team humming, right? Like, what I said about this team in my show earlier was, in my article that I wrote earlier was Rutgers has always been a team that played good defense, but never had the answer at quarterback. Eytan, oh my God, Kalmanakis, however you pronounce his name, I'm butchering it. I'm so sorry. He's okay quarterback. He's comparable quarterback. His numbers are really similar to that of Raiola in the EPA margin. Actually, he's beaten Nebraska 3 times already with Minnesota. He has confidence that he can do it. And like I said, he's not asked to do much. 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts in a defensive battle. Anytime I think this is going to go under the total. So I know the total in this it's like 42.5 or 43.5. I think it screams way under. Anytime you're getting over a touchdown of value in a game that's going to be 30-something points, I think you have to take the dog or at least consider it. And for me, I really like Rutgers. I think Rutgers is live to win this game.
Oh, your lips to God's ears, because I need Nebraska to be miserable. Do you know how awful, like, first off, Facebook or whatever you want to call Meta is awful to go on anyway. You basically have it just purely because to know that I have relatives that stay alive in the Midwest. Otherwise, those are very, very scary streets to go into. But I must say, there were a couple of times that I, for whatever reason, would click and open it in the wee hours of the morning in August, and all it was Nebraska propaganda. And I cannot tell you enough how not back I want Nebraska to be. Nebraska is anus. It is a terrible place. Lincoln, Nebraska is so overrated. I would go down to Omaha. Omaha, lovely. Lincoln, Nebraska is a shithole. It is a terrible place to go to school. And may God have mercy on your soul. I hope this team remains in the doldrums forever, because Tom Osborne was a long time ago. He ain't running through the doors leading that football team out onto the field. You can say what you want about the coaching. I think it's actually improved here under the new regime. But I'm very much here for Nebraska not being good, because it feels so much better to watch them get their hopes up and watch as failure kicks in. It's way more fun. It's way more fun.
Yeah. I mean, they want Nebraska to be back. It's a good squad, right? It's the first, I think this is the first, second test that Raiola has had against a good defense. And he did okay in his first test, but definitely took too many sacks. We'll see how they clean that up.
Why doesn't he run at all?
He can't run. He's glued to the ground. He's Peyton Manning.
He is very much. It's wild to watch. Anywho,
I'll say this: the guy on my NBC show, Eric Froton, he plays his under rushing every single week. The books keep setting it at 6.5, and he keeps playing it.
Well, the sacks also are negative yardage in college.
Yep,
football.
That's why he takes it. Because all you need is one sack, because he's not running the ball.
I love it so much. God, I love it so much. Oh, Raiola. I'm gonna just place that under out of spite. That's what I'm gonna do as soon as this program's over. Because Raiola, I'm not a hater. I think he's made some really, really good throws that I've seen early on in the season against nobodies. But as you said, second test really coming his way. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the prospects, though, of Rutgers money line. I think that also would be an enjoyable thing. Speaking of money lines, let's go to the wagon, because again, Baseball's been very, very good. Ended up locking in full unit send. San Diego -1.5 on game one. I tried to get something going with Max Fried yesterday. Kind of got babbipped to death. That was not an enjoyable experience. But Saturday, friends, we get a divisional rival game, Detroit and Cleveland. And I think one thing that just drives me nuts about these small sample, one game to win them all, one game to find them type games, is people don't handicap them correctly when you talk about bullpen approaches. And Detroit is just the pontification of what I'm saying. They are absolutely it. They have found ways to be so successful with this bullpen approach, and they stack it up almost perfectly. Now, we ran into that young 21-year-old that they gave some leash to. It wasn't a must-win game, too, but season on the line, basically, where you're playing Houston. We know how good Houston's been forever, and they still felt confident rolling him out there. I think as he gets experience, we're going to see another flamethrower potentially 98, 99 with movement. Just, maybe keep it in the zone, not give up a couple of free walks, and life will be good. But Bo Brisky, a number of these individuals throughout the entire belt, Casey Mize, Reese Olson, I'm in love with how they've started stacking up some of these guys in these type of ball games. They steal games at a higher clip than any other baseball team, period, over the course of the last month and a half. And we are getting another number where they're the biggest dog heading into Saturday's baseball games. Now, that could change based on what we see from the Mets and Milwaukee here, but you're talking about north of plus 120 to back Detroit against a divisional opponent who hasn't played baseball for 5 days, and a divisional opponent that they have found success with this exact bullpen approach. They do not even have a confirmed starter. So you have to go and find books such as FanDuel where you have live action on this, regardless of who the starting pitcher is. But I don't really care who it ends up being, because I think that no matter what, I understand that Jackson Jobe, he'll get acclimated there a little bit. Tariq Skubal will probably take the ball in game 2 or 3 there. But Tyler Holton has been nails. Jason Foley's been nails. Reese Olson has been really, really solid in expected numbers. 294 xWOBA, 361 expected slugging. I'm in love with taking these divisional type spots at plus money in a ballpark that plays up for some of the righty power that exists more in the Detroit lineup than it does in the Cleveland lineup, where it's primarily all lefty power. Naylor, Ramirez, Manzardo. And we've seen Progressive Field play up for lefty power this season relative year over year. But at the same time, they have so many good little lefties that they can throw in out of the pen. I got to back Detroit in this spot. How do you feel about that, Brad?
Listen, I like it. This Detroit team didn't win the division there. Kind of ticked me off because I had them to win division, but I also had them to make the playoffs. Really good team. Really good pitching here. I like Detroit.
I like Detroit too. Friends, that reaches the end of our boarding walk. Feel pretty good about some of the freebies we threw out there. We got 3 college football, fantastic college football plays from my guy B-Rad. We got a college football, a baseball, and another baseball, Saturday baseball coming your way here. Again, Detroit bullpen approaches. They are such a good way of handling small sample size games. It won't work throughout an entire regular season, but when you're trying to win 2 of 3, when you're trying to win 3 of 5, I really like that approach, especially when there's familiarity with the opponents, such as what you've got with Cleveland and Detroit. But that does it here for us on the Gold Standard. Eytan will probably be back with us next Monday from the wilderness, somewhere in a farm near you in Pennsylvania. But Brad, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
Yeah, make sure anyone who's interested, go on Spotify or Apple or however you listen to your podcast, type in Bet the Edge. Our college football show is live. It has all of at least 90% of our college football bets. It's about an hour long and a bunch of entertainment, but a lot of money to be made.
It's beautiful stuff. Check out Tails. Check out all the great stuff over at OddsShopper that we got going. Brad, he's firing up some goodness there. I'm firing up some goodness there. Eytan, when he's available and not too bougie. It's all right. I'm back from vacation, though, so I'm back in the rotation. Good to be kicking it with my guy, Brad. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in, catching this in the secondary market after the fact, a couple days after the fact. There's a shelf life on this thing, so check it out. I'll retweet it. Friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Follow me at Eric Lindquist. He's Brad Thomas. Follow him at Mr. Brad Thomas. We'll catch you later.